Hey Queens, welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Woman podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr, aka the Femalepreneur Coach, and today I am joined by an incredible guest expert that I'm really excited about. Her name is Gemma Brooks. She's a celebrity psychic medium. And there's two reasons why I'm so excited to bring her on to kind of have this chat today. First of all, because Gemma's actually supported me in my own business with several readings now. And I always believe as a mentor not to gatekeep, pay it forward, share what's working for you. And it definitely has. But also because I just feel like her approach and her mentorship for business owners is exactly what is needed right now for the collective. So I'm really excited to be able to showcase that a little. And yeah, just kind of shine a spotlight on the incredible talent that is Gemma Brooks. So thank you so much.
Oh, a lovely intro.
Genuinely, I've been so excited about today's session.
Me too. I just love to talk. So this is going to be great.
This could be like 5 episodes deep, I feel, at this point.
It really could.
Yeah,
It really could.
exactly. Putting the words to rights. I'm really excited. So obviously, Gemma, feel free to intro yourself because, I want to ensure that the world really knows what a badass you are.
Oh, thank you. So, yeah, as Rebecca has already said, I am a celebrity psychic medium. I have been a psychic medium in the industry for over 13 years now. And it's only been in the last 4 years that I have become a spiritual teacher of sorts. So I have a mission, which is to change the future generations' perspectives, let them be free spirits, let them live authentically. And I believe the best way to do that is to teach the mums how to unlock their own spiritual gifts and become authentic in their own right. So that is the mission that I have right now. I'm also a bestseller of my book, Spiritually Authentic, and I'm big in the events industry at the moment, doing lots of little retreats, and I have my own shows. So I'm kind of a bit of everything, as it were.
Show?
Yeah. So I host big shows with like audiences. You guys ever watch things like Colin Fry and things like this, where the mediums are stood with a big audience and we give readings out? And yeah, I've been doing that for years now and absolutely love it. Love that side of work.
And there's so much power, isn't there, by being a part of a collective in those situations? Like it amplifies the energy, doesn't it?
It does. And it's not even when you don't get a reading yourself, it's watching somebody else's reading come through can be so healing for yourself.
Yeah.
And I see that in the events. I see people crying with the person receiving the reading. I see people laughing with the person, and people always open up really easily, which is really nice. Is that, something will come forward, some validation from me, and they will like want to tell the story about why that makes sense, and everybody will be laughing in the room. And this is like 100 people all connecting emotionally for that person, and it's so gorgeous to see. It's addictive. It's such an addictive feeling. It really is.
Because spirits have no filter, do they? I've had readings before where my mum has come through and she's literally like, stop having kids. Like, enough. I'm really sorry, but this is what's coming through. And I'm like, that's exactly my mum. Yeah, absolutely.
What she would say.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's mind blowing. Sometimes I have to sort of, take a moment and think, am I going to say that? Okay, I've got to say this. Like they want me to say it. Sometimes they have me sing it and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, I'm really not the person who should be singing this song to you right now.
Oh, I just love that. I love that. And it gives so much peace, doesn't it? And comfort. So I absolutely love that aspect. But also I'm so interested in what you were just saying. So I know you work with business owners and I absolutely want to obviously get to that. But equally as a mum, I'm so interested in what you were saying about supporting mums to kind of be more in tune with their spiritual gifts so that they can support their kids. Like, how does that work?
So I, for many years, have had people, or women, should I say, come for readings. And at the end, they'll always say to me, I just want to ask you a little question. I'm going to sound really weird now. And I know instantly what they're going to say then. They've got some thing that's happened to them that they can't explain and they want to know what it means. And I always come to the same conclusion, like, you've got these gifts, they've been suppressed for whatever reason, they want to come out. Like, you're not weird, you're completely normal. This is so normal to have these experiences and have this connection, but you know, somewhere down the line you've lost touch with it, or there might have been fear at play when you was a child, or you know, so many different things could have happened to sort of put a block there. And what I believe is that by allowing these women to really give themselves permission to embrace these gifts and use them in whichever form they want to. I mean, my gifts gave me my husband, my gifts gave me my children, because I can get into that later, but there's things that these women could have in their life that they don't.
Is that like guiding your decisions? Is that what you mean? Like, it's
In a
helping
way, but
you.
yeah, and also at the same time, for example, all of my children have been conceived through fertility treatment, so I'm classed as infertile as such. And there's times when I've known if it would work or if it wouldn't, or I know how to go against the doctor's orders, and I've always been right. I've never ever been wrong. And the only reason I know what this is going to lead to is because of my connection with my body, and this connection comes from a spiritual place. So it's like really deepening these connections with ourselves help us to sort of listen to that gut instinct that little bit more. So before my last child, Halo, I had an ectopic pregnancy, and obviously this was under IVF and everything, so we get really early scans and things like this. So even before a scan was happening, even before a positive pregnancy test, I knew that I was having an ectopic pregnancy. And when I rang to tell them, they dismissed it, because they were like, no, you would know, because this would be happening. I had no symptoms, you see, that they could sort of put toward that. But I was right. And as soon as we went for that scan, I was told that I knew. And it's things like this. So these gifts can be really, really powerful. Like, having that gift meant that I was able to prepare myself emotionally for what the outcome of that was going to be. And that was really tough. So it really helped me with my healing. And it also helped my husband, because he trusts me so much, because I'm always right with these things. So I believe that by allowing these women to really connect with these gifts and help them connect means that they then go on to make decisions in life, and they trust themselves that bit more. They trust themselves that bit more and love themselves that bit more, to want to go for their goals and their dreams and not sacrifice those things to become a mom. And I found that this was happening. And I grew up, you know, my childhood, I was surrounded by women who were mums. Like, I wanted to be a nurse, but I chose to be a mom. I wanted to be this, but I chose to be a mom. And I was like, I'm not having that. Like, I'm having it all. I'm not gonna make any sacrifices. So I believe that by helping women tune in with these gifts, it can just massively transform the way they view life and themselves. And when they become the best version of themselves, they then birth children who see this way and see this example from their mum, and they think, I'm going to be anything I want to be as well. You know, there's no limit, there's no restrictions. And I think that that's so powerful.
I always say that to my clients. Like, it's so easy to fall into the trap of being a martyr when you're a mum, particularly if you've had a bit of a childhood like me. I thought, you know, my kids will know that they are the center of all things, that they are unconditionally loved. Like, I was obsessed with it to the point where it wasn't really helpful because I was pouring so much into these kids that there was nothing left for myself. And then when I stepped back, I was thinking, actually, what am I showing them? That actually, you know, as a mom, you need to sacrifice your happiness and your health and your dreams and your goals and your potential to pour into somebody else who, you know, and it just kind of didn't sit with me, right? And now I kind of changed that narrative. And now, you know, I travel to retreats, I invest in myself, I invest in my own personal development so I can be all that I can be. And that has definitely, like, the girls have noticed, the boys have noticed, like, my, you know, as my happiness, my fulfillment has increased. You know, that's the how you teach children, isn't it? They don't, I could tell my girls every day, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you can be all you can be. But if I'm not the embodiment of that and I don't go first, they're just calling bullshit on it all the time, because they're like, well, if you can't do it, how am I going to do it, you know?
100%. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember being a kid, and because my mum and dad separated when I was around 4. And I remember my mum and my nan always saying to me, Jem, get a man who's going to buy you a wardrobe. He's going to fill that wardrobe up. And I used to hear a lot of, oh, I wish I'd have married a rich man. I wish I'd have married a rich man. And I used to sit there thinking, eh? Like, really? Like, your only wish was to like have somebody else be able to give you everything that you want or need. Like, I wasn't going to live like that. Like, there was no way whatsoever I was going to be that woman who couldn't, get me what I needed. And it's like, even now I laugh because I've got 6-year-old identical twin boys. And I say to them, there's been times where I felt bad going out in an evening to go and do a show, but it's not, it's like once a month. But they have a really good way of guilt tripping me. Like, they're very, very good at that. They're quite manipulative.
Boys.
Like, don't look at me. And I always have to say to them, it's quite a funny thing. I'll say, boys, mummy's got a big show. Do you know what that means? And they'll go, big money. And I'll go, big money. And then that means holidays, it means trips to the farm, it means days out, it means all of this fun stuff. It's never about, possessions. It's never ever about that. It's about having that freedom. Yeah, because I'm like, boys, the bills are paid. We've got all this extra money. Let's go and have some fun. And they get that now. But obviously, like, when they were really little, they wouldn't have understood.
I do the same with my kids. Like, single parent, it can be like a lot to feel the weight of like everybody needs you all at the same time. And I think sometimes as a way, it's just about having those conversations with your kids and, like you say, taking them on the journey so they don't feel like there's something over here that's taking you away. It's like, this is for all of us. So like that, I'm doing a retreat in September. They're coming with me, which I'm really excited about.
That's amazing.
I can't wait.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know. And that's it. Like,
even like venue, what's the word? Like, when I'm looking for venues, I'll just I homeschool my oldest daughter. So she just comes with me. She's not even that bothered, but I'm just like, look at me being such a great mum. She's like,
I love that. I know, because that's the thing. I grew up with my mum was a single mum, and I just remember like the hardship she faced. And I just, and I was like that, they say, don't they, that you become the parent that you should have had. And it's like, I look at certain things from my childhood, even though it was a great childhood, and I think, well, I want different for my kids with that, and I want different with that. And I've made sure that happens. And it's like, even though, I have a husband and we're a great team, over the last year, we've had like our own battles with health, where he had a stroke last year. And then that's actually gone on to lead to cancer. So we've like had quite a lot going on, which means that I'm stepping up, and I'm breaking these societal, typical norms of where the woman is the one who stays at home and takes care of everyone. Like, no, I'm working. I am the one who's going to take care of him. I am the one who's going to retire him. There's no male female,
dynamic
imbalance at play here. Like, I'm absolutely happy. I love what I do. I will work till the day I die, because there's no retirement for me. I enjoy it. It's my number one hobby. I get paid for my number one hobby. So for me to be able to live that out whilst taking care of my entire family, that's just a dream come true for me. It doesn't have to be about women only get this or that. Like, we can be whoever we want. And I think
a bad thing, like you say, where you're working a lot. Like, there's a lot of stigma attached to it. It's like kind of almost gone the other way, where it's like, I made 100K in my pants and I did nothing. And it's like, for me, I get so much satisfaction from my work. Why would I want to do nothing? Like, I add so many elements into my business, like in-person stuff that I don't need to do. Like, there's loads of coaches that wouldn't do that, but that's where I get the joy from. So
100%. And that's the thing, there's always going to be somebody who looks at your situation and thinks, this is really weird, but who created normal? I do believe that we're in a society where everything is being created to fit a certain system. And I think that when one of us sort of knocks that down and creates our own way, I think that really can ruffle some feathers, but I think that that's a good thing.
That's how
it's definitely a good definitely. And I think with children, for them to watch that too.
Definitely. And I'd love to know, how do you develop their skills? Like, do you find that they're intuitive at all?
So with the boys, when they were 2, Ace, so I've got Ace and Atlas. Ace is very much an empath. So it sounds funny because they're identical twins, but this is my belief, is that Ace is an old soul and he's been here many, many times. He's lived out many lives. He's very intuitive, empathic. He feels everything on a massively deep level. And he sees spirit, and he always has done since he was 2, although he doesn't like to talk about it anymore. But Atlas is a free spirit. Like, this child has not been here before. Like, he's doing everything his own way. Like, he's gonna make 1,000,010 mistakes in life, because he doesn't think about consequences. He just jumps straight in. Like, he's so funny because he's so free. Like, you can just see it in him when he's around you. And there's such different characters in that way. And I believe that Ace is here to teach Atlas something. They're so connected. They share the same DNA. Like, this is the thing about identical twins, they're exactly the same, bar their fingerprints. So it's really unique to see the differences. But Ace has seen spirit since he was 2. I remember I took him to a graveyard. That sounds really weird. we just go for fun. It's not something we do. No. My husband wanted to go and put some flowers down on his nan's where his nan's ashes were put. So I wanted to give him a minute. So I took the boys away and we went for a little wander around the graves. And Ace was really freaked out. Like, he would turn and look at the gravestones and suddenly turn away, like really fearful. So I knew, and these were all war graves. So I knew that he was seeing them. And then, as he got older, he started to talk about friends that he had that didn't exist at nursery and things like this. And then his brother thought it was quite funny to get in on that, even though he wasn't seeing anything. Like, he would just pretend that he had. So, like, it was so funny. But no, I think when they get older, if they show signs of wanting to go that bit deeper, then I will absolutely take them down that road. But I actually think it's going to be Halo, my daughter. She's only 15 months old. I think she's going to be the one out of all of them who will go down that path. So yeah, I'm excited.
And it's so interesting. So it's like, I believe that you are sent the children that you're meant to have. So it's no coincidence that my last daughter is an absolute fucking savage who is just here to fuck everything up. Like, this child is feral. She is reckless. She's wild. She's mean at times. Like, but I love it because, like, I'm now in a place to kind of just like celebrate that. The corporate version of me, like when I had my first 3 children, would have been like appalled and all the things. And now I'm just like, you do you, boo. I actually respect it. And I'm clapping for you from the sidelines, because she has 0 Fs. She was not born with any to give. So I'm excited about that. But I've got 2 boys that are very intuitive, not only to me and my needs. So we've got a beautiful relationship. Like, they're always, you can sense if, I've got a little boy, Luciano, and he's like, Mummy, did no one tell you that you're beautiful today? And like, whenever I'm just like needing that little pick me up, he's such an empath. Like, he really knows. But they've both come out with things that have blown my mind. So my oldest son, Riley, and they talk about it like it's fact. So I'd love to know like how to nurture this further without kind of planting seeds, like kind of putting things into. But Riley said to me before, because he's very thoughtful, he doesn't talk a lot, but when he comes, like, he's always coming with a question. And he was saying, Mum, when, like, before you're born, and there's that big book that kind of opens up and all the pages go everywhere, and then when they stop, that's when you're born. And I'm like, no. Okay. So he comes out with these things as if it's fact. So I'm like, okay. And then Luciano definitely has had trauma in a past life. Like, he is an old soul for sure. And he has a real issue with washing his hair. And I dyed his hair blue the other day. And I was like, all the way through, I was like, I'm going to need to rinse this off your hair. Like, you understand this, right? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. Obviously, when I started washing his hair, it is a complete meltdown. And he was like, I'm so sorry. It's just because the bad things that happened to me the last time I was here. And I'm like, my baby. He talks about this past life all the time. He talks about speaking to people that aren't there. And I love to nurture it, because he actually comes from a lineage of like my partner's Italian, and they were actually like psychics in the circus in Italy. So it's like
Wow.
we've got that attachment, and I'd love to nurture it further, but I don't know how to do it in a way, like I say, that isn't planting seeds.
So I think that, I mean, is there anything that you've sort of got out of him with regards to details, like where he may have been in this past life? Because if there's like something like he says he wore a certain outfit, or, you know, he spoke a certain like word that you know is connected to a certain country, if there's anything like that, I would go on a visit.
Yeah,
Like I would take a trip to a place where he may have been and see if it like instigates more
yeah.
of him.
Yeah, because I really want him to like, and all the kids, I want them to find their place in the world. And that isn't by me telling them what it should be. So,
This is the thing, though. I think that, you know, you say that he has this like ancestry of psychics. This is where there's like a real misconception where people think that in order to have these spiritual gifts, you have to have been born with them, or they come from somewhere in the family way back. And that's just not true. Um, you don't need to be any kind of way, or be born into a family who have this gift, because everybody has it within them. It's just as we are born, um things happen that make us lose touch with these gifts. And I mean, we can talk about all kinds of things, but I mean, anything that can impact the third eye, such as calcification, which comes from fluoride and things like this, anything that's put into our body from a child, including vaccines and things like that, there can be any kind of thing that will knock us off with that connection, and completely change it. If as a child you see spirit or a ghost, as people say, and you go and tell your mom what's just happened, and she shuts it down because she's terrified and sort of says to you, oh my God, no, that didn't happen, you was having a bad dream, that's going to put the fear into you and completely just shut it down there and then. So there's so many different ways that we lose connection with it, but we're all born with it because we're all born pure, like completely and utterly pure. And that's why you hear so many stories of children like this, because there's nothing stopping them. But if your reaction to your boys was, no, 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 that's not true, you've dreamt that, like that's not real, that would make them doubt their gifts, and then they would just stop talking about it. It's so
yeah,
easy to shut it down with children, but I think a lot of adults don't realize that they could shut it down for them, like on their behalf. So
yeah,
yeah, it does happen quite a bit, but literally everybody is born with these gifts. And it depends what kind of family you're from. Like for me, on my dad's side, it was completely typical Sunday dinner chat around the table, like was to do with spirit, like because
oh,
my
really?
auntie was a medium, and yeah, so we just sat there talking about it all the time. So because it would be so accepted for me and my family, of
Yeah,
course it was going to be easier for me to develop my gifts, because I had nobody telling me I shouldn't, you
yeah,
know. And like
that's,
even on my mum's side, like they all went to see psychics and things for years. So I was completely accepted as who I am. But if you're born into a really religious or strict family that don't agree with any of it, which a lot of my students are, they come from families where they completely dismiss all of it and hate it,
yeah,
then it's going to be much harder for you to really be true to yourself with these gifts, because you're being judged for it, or being told that you're wrong, or you're no longer accepted for who you are.
yeah.
It's going to have a massive impact.
Yeah, I totally agree, and like I'm so conscious now. Like I say, I think for me, like being a parent has been such a journey, because I came into it with so many like preconceived ideas of how my kids were going to be. Like even my first daughter, I had her similar. I never got as far as IVF. We were starting it, but then I fell pregnant, and I remember thinking like she's going to have the best of everything. Like I never got to finish school. So I really pedestaled like education, and I always wanted her to go to
Yeah.
like Harvard. She's 13 now, and I homeschool her because that institution is not meant for Emily. Like she
Yeah.
is something else. And equally, as I've had more kids and realized like how wildly different their interests and their personalities and their essence is, it's really meant that I've had to kind of change as a parent and kind of drop everything that I thought that I knew, which has been an interesting correlation with my own journey into spirituality
Yeah.
and refining myself. And what I really loved, I'm like a little bit obsessed with you. read your emails all the time. So I read one the other day about how, you know, trigger warning, but you were saying like how abuse and trauma can cause women to disconnect
Mhm.
from these gifts also. And I was just curious, like, how do you, because that was definitely my journey. So again, when I think about like the first 10 years of motherhood, it was very in my masculine. It was very much looking outside of myself. It was following what I
Mhm.
thought were like society's norms and what should be my aspirational points, and, you know, giving them this and that. And then as I've kind of unraveled, it's that's kind of filtered out. And these other kids have come through that are feral and wild and, you know, teaching me in other ways. But how does a woman kind of get back to herself? Like, if you know, because I then connect that with the business journey, but you obviously connect that with the whole everything journey, don't you?
Thing. Yeah, because I think that, like I say, as women, we have this natural way about us to sacrifice. Everything is about sacrificing what we need, what we love, what we want to be, like who we are. Like we do it for men, we do it for love, we do it for our parents, we do it for our children, we do it for everybody. And I think that we as women have so many expectations put on us from the day we are born. You know, I mean, if we look at science and evolution, like we're here to procreate, like that is what we were initially like created for. You know, that's our role in life, that's our purpose. So like for me, for example, to go through infertility and not be able to do that naturally, that for some women that could be like the most heart-wrenching thing to have to go through. Now for me it was really character building.
Mm.
And I never once, and my partner, we talked about this the other day, I've never once, despite all the surgeries, all the injections, all the traumas, the losses, everything, I've never once felt sorry for myself, and I won't do it because I know that it plays a role in my purpose. I know that I've had to go through all of that so that I can help other women who may go through that too, in whichever
Yeah.
way I need to do that. And I'm finding that it's really combining alongside my spiritual work too. And I think that those traumas that I went through with that could have meant that I felt differently. It could have meant I'm a different kind of mum to other people. It could mean I view parenthood different. I could look at women who giving birth to children who they might not be in the best circumstances, and I could very easily judge them for that and think, well, there's women like me, you know, I could be like that, but I don't, I really don't. And I think that because I've realized that it's so easy for women to be judged, and it's so easy for women to make decisions for other people, you know, based on other people's expectations of them. And I also think that it's very easy for women to go against each other. And
Yeah.
I think that that's massive, massive. And I think that all of this has been created through society, but through many, many years. And I mean, we can go back as far as the witch wound, you know, where women were put against each other. We can go back thousands of years. And I think that what I've come to realize is connecting with that feminine power that we have, it creates unity. That's what it does. It takes us out of that masculine energy and it creates unity among women. And this is why I'm a really big you can call me a preacher. I'm a bit of a preacher when it comes to, you know, collaboration over competition, because that's, to me, that's what female empowerment is. Like, rather than seeing each other as rivals, women can achieve greater success by coming together and supporting one another and just, I guess, fostering that sense of community, because I think that's what we've lost. And I think
Absolutely.
that then, you know, like women going through trauma, women going through sexual abuse, one thing that we can um say as women is we probably all know a woman who's gone through something like that, some form of sexual abuse, whether it be just, you know, it doesn't have to be physical, it can even be like a sexual remark that's been made against a woman. And I think we can all say we've experienced something like that. That should bring us together. That should make us want to look out for each other and come together and support one another even more, because there's one common, I guess, there's one common theme that we all have to deal with, and that's that we always have to prove ourselves as women. We
Yeah.
always have to prove ourselves in some sort of way. So we should create an environment where we can all thrive, where we challenge that narrative
Yeah.
around success, you know, that it's, you know, this woman can be successful, but it means you can't. Like, you can have 10 women who are successful in the same industry that support one another. They don't have to be against each other, you
Super
know? And
good.
I think that
Yeah. So as a money mindset mentor, for me, that is like the true essence of the wealthy woman. It's the woman that knows the value that she brings to the table, so she doesn't have to take anything away from anybody else. And that
Definitely.
that's the full abundance mindset, isn't it? As a money mentor, like
Yeah.
literally there is so much abundance out there. Why are we worried about what other people are doing? That's just evidence that there's more available for us too, and we should be tapping into these
100%.
spiritual laws, like law of oneness. If they can do it, I can do it. If it's possible for one, it's possible
Yeah.
for all. But it's always then, like you say, taking it back to who benefits when women are divided.
Yeah.
Well, historically, we've
And
always been powerhouses, haven't we? The healers, the
exactly.
tribal leaders, the wise women. And then
Yeah.
patriarchy came in, and now suddenly we're all villainized, and our power is stripped away from us.
This is it.
We're turning.
And I even talk about it in my book about how many years ago in like native tribes, when a teenage girl would first start her period, there was like a year-long celebration of this, because this is a girl stepping into womanhood and it should be celebrated.
Yeah.
But then I say, in the same token, how many times as a teenager did you send your mum to the shop to get you sanitary towels or tampons because you were too embarrassed to go do it yourself?
Yeah.
Like I used to send my husband to the shop for me, like, can you just go get these? Because you just didn't want nobody to know that you were going through that time of the month. But in these tribes, it was celebrated for a whole year. They would have a feast, and this girl would become a woman, and they were all so proud of her. And it's like, we've lost that. We need that. We need to be celebrating each other. And back, you were saying about money and things and success. One thing that I've really, really noticed, especially recently, especially in the spiritual industry, is there is a lot of stigma around spiritual women making money. And I myself personally have felt like a backlash of this recently. I've been talking about money much more because I hit a real big milestone a couple of months ago, and I wanted to celebrate it. And I celebrate every damn win that I have, and I will never apologize for that.
Yeah.
And I was celebrating all over socials, like, this is my big day. And I experienced some backlash amongst my community, where all of a sudden I noticed women who had always been supportive of me were all of a sudden creating posts or content about how, they might be doing readings, but they're not going to charge much because it's not about the money. And there was a lot of money chat, and I thought it's very much, there was a lot of indirects, but I did experience some directs as well, honestly. And I was like, you know what? This just means that I'm doing it right, because I am breaking the boundaries around what being spiritual is. And this is the whole point.
And being spiritual is about living your life to the fullest, isn't it? Tapping into everything, all the abundance that's around you. Money is part of that. It's just another tool that can support you to live a bigger purpose, to serve more clients, pay your fucking bills on time so you don't have to be stressed about it. Like, how can that be bad or wrong?
But what I don't understand is the women that tend to be judgy tend to be the women who their lifelong dreams and goals are to live off grid and have all of this land. And, well, how are you going to get that land if you don't have money? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, do you not understand that money does make the world go round? There's nothing wrong with wanting it. Like, money has created for me freedom, in the sense, like you talking about kids' education. I'm the same, and my children were never going to go to a typical school, because I have many reasons why, but I've got them in a private school, which is a Steiner school, and it is so spiritual and it's really holistic. And I remember saying, my kids, honestly, because they're such creatives, and I was like, my kids are going to school. I don't have the funds for it yet, but I'll figure it out. I've got like 6 months to figure it out. And I've figured it out. And, I have never looked back. And it's like, if it wasn't for money, they wouldn't be getting that. And that's not a showy off thing, which some people might look at it like that. For me, it was a non-negotiable. Like, it had to happen. I would have found a way. If it meant selling anything, to get them there. Like, I would do anything for my kids, as all mums would. But it's like, money is giving my kids the best education, the kind of education where I don't have to worry about them afterwards.
And it's nourishing them, isn't it? I really think that is our role as a mum. Like, I used to think it was about setting this moral example and kind of,
Yeah.
You know, just I just had all of these like patriarchal things that I thought was my role as a mum. And actually I realize now that as long as they're loved, I'm here just to facilitate their growth. And, you know, in whatever way that needs to be, that means me putting my ego aside, my expectations. I'm just here to facilitate the growth of these little humans. And probably at the end of it,
Exactly.
they'll just cast me aside and go and live their best life. But that's what I'm here to do. And that's okay. That means I've raised
Yeah.
empowered kids who can go off and live their life. And that's my measure of success.
It's so funny.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Let them be, let them develop their own little personalities before the world tells them who they need to be. Yeah, my 11-year-old daughter is mortified that she doesn't have a phone. And I'm like, it's so different because my oldest daughter did have a phone at this age, but knowing my 11-year-old, like she's too easily led, she's too easily manipulated, and um she's like every social media like salesperson's dream because she's just so wide-eyed and easily influenced that I'm like, you will not get that phone until the last possible point when it becomes like an issue of safety and you need to have it because, you know, I'm not driving you to school, whatever, because that's me protecting you, like your personality, your potential, because I want you to figure all that out first before the world tells you who you need to be. Yeah. But like I said, my oldest daughter had one and she's absolutely fine because she's so antisocial. She doesn't do social media. She doesn't care about other people. She's like, why would I care what they had for lunch? And I'm like, yes, you can have social media. You're good. Yeah, she's like, you're fine. You'll police yourself. Oh, but I love that. So, and this talk around like spirituality and the communities that are built around industries, like that can become really enabling, can't it? So I've definitely experienced that in the coaching space. The most broken like bunch of women that I've ever met have been quote unquote coaches. When I've been in mastermind communities at events, the scarcity and the lack and the ego and the narcissists that have been in those rooms, and I'm like, we're supposed to be the good guys, right? What is going on? And then that was a real like opportunity for growth for me because I was like, actually, it made me want to lean out of coaching for a really long time. So how do you balance that a little bit with your doing it your own way, but equally not feeling supported by the community that are supposed to be your people? Like, how do you protect your energy in that? Mm. Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah, definitely. And that self-belief, isn't it? Self-trust. Yeah. I I always think, as a businesswoman, like I'm so grateful for the journey because I was such a different version of me that came into like the entrepreneurial space. I was like a real corporate A-type personality. I had spreadsheets for everything. I was super organized. I didn't have any self-trust. I didn't have any self-love. I didn't have any self-worth. And I was kind of using all these structures, these masculine structures to kind of hide behind and force an outcome. And then as everything kind of unraveled and, things moved at a quicker pace, it forced me to kind of strip away a lot of the perceptions and things that I'd hid behind to suddenly make quick decisions, have difficult conversations, start to advocate for myself, bin off the people that I realized were like, God, I feel so fucking drained in this WhatsApp group, or when we go out, like this is I've got work tomorrow and I've got commitments and da 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 da. It suddenly forced me very quickly, like a baptism of fire, to kind of shed so many elements of myself. I think when people are building businesses, if you're not using that as a process for growth, you're really missing out. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, and I think when you know, like timing is everything. And as they say, when you're ready, when the students are ready, the mentor appears. And I've signed up for classes thinking like, oh, I should totally do that thing, like almost from a place of ego and fear and FOMO. That this is the thing, and I've not been fully committed to the journey, and I've not made time for the process, so therefore I've not got the results. Who's to blame in that situation? That's just me. That's me making the wrong decision from a place of fear, and then not seeing it through. And but I have also invested like massively higher levels, for one-to-one coaches. You best believe I'm on every call, because what I've paid is essentially a mortgage deposit. I am there with bells on. I got my notebook. I am ready to go. I'm like 5 minutes early because and that's what I love about the exchange. It's so symbolic, isn't it? Mm. So, what would you advise to a woman? Because I know, I've heard in spiritual communities about this collective shift in energy, and I've definitely felt it. And women that I've spoken to are like my peers this year, where we suddenly don't feel in alignment with our business anymore, and it's like everything that's worked suddenly isn't working, or it just doesn't feel as good as it used to. I've kind of just intuitively navigated that a little bit, and now I think the two offers that I've got are just like my absolute like babies. I jump on those calls even in the summer holidays, and I come off feeling activated because, like you say, it's that return to self. I love it. But for anybody else who was feeling that kind of like uncomfortableness in their business, like they know this isn't it and things aren't converting, evidently, because it's all like projected into your reality, isn't it? If things aren't right, what would you say to them to kind of do, like if you're in that feeling of like this isn't it but I don't know what is, how do they kind of come to that conclusion a little bit, or just dive a little bit deeper inwards? Mm. Yeah. Multitasking. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And intuitively, huh? Oh, and then yeah, definitely get a reading. Absolutely. I'm gonna put I saw an email the other day that you were saying my diary's open. I was like, well, there goes the floodgates. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I always go to readings when I'm kind of feeling, like you say, a little bit stuck, but kind of know. And then you just want that confirmation or new inspiration or just, some kind of guidance. It's so helpful. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I just had a couple of quick questions. Um, how do you protect your energy? Because like coaches, service providers, like you're giving so much of yourself to your clients. It's very much an energetic exchange, isn't it? This isn't a product business. You've got a team to do it. Like everything is kind of dependent on you. So how do you protect your energy when working with clients? Mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Interesting. That's so interesting. Sorry, just as a side note, my daughter is on the autistic spectrum, my oldest daughter. She is never sick. Like I can't even think of a time when she's been sick, like had a sickness bug, set tummy her whole life, and she's going to be 14 this year. And it's almost like a social experiment. And equally, we're not a sick house, considering there's so many kids here. They all go to like nursery and school. We're not a sick house. And even I'm not very sick very often. And I think for her, it's because it's not in her awareness to be sick. Like she doesn't go on Facebook. where they're like, oh, this thing's going around, be aware. Like she's not reading newsletters about mumps and rubella. Yeah, so it's not even in her awareness to be sick. Like none of my kids got COVID. Yeah, it's so. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do that actually. I plan and theme my day. So I only actually work 2 days a week. I've only got 2 days of childcare. So Monday is very much like creative mode because again, like switching your mindset into different types of delivery is really difficult. And then Thursdays is usually when I have all my client calls and it's like I mentally prepare, I don't book anything on the Friday. I know I'm going to be tired because I really, pour into my clients. So I think that that's a really good way of managing your energy, like you say, not kind of kicking the ass out of it, being honest with yourself when you do great. Yeah, 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 definitely. So I'm so excited. You are one of the sponsors for the Wealthy Woman event in November. And for me, this just felt so exciting because you are the embodiment of this female leadership that I think the new wave of female business owners needs to embody essentially. Like we need to get rid of all of the ways of doing business that are really masculine, really structured, that mean that we need to be on all the time and start to bring everything back to ourselves, not only to, like you say, manage our own energy, tap into our full power, but also to create something interesting. Like I cannot tell you how boring it is to follow another business coach because it's just like funnels, email automation, sales, and I'm like, oh girl, I'm so fucking bored watching your like. Yeah, I honestly, I am not interested in 99% of other business coaches because it's just so masculine and boring. Um, so I was so excited to bring you on because it's like this little revolution that I'm trying to. I feel like the naughty kid in the back of the class that's kind of coming. Yeah, that's coming to the business coaching. That's like, fuck it, you don't have to do that. Don't listen to them. Don't do it like that. And it feels really like a nice like alignment of values. Obviously, you're doing it in a much more beautiful way. I'm just like the foul mouth rebel at the back. He's just trying to like disrupt everybody. But I'm so excited about that because it was just like, yes, this is so exciting. And I can't wait to showcase more of the work that you do as the year kind of unfolds in the run up to that. But I'd love to know for anybody that's listening, like what is next for you so that if they feel really inspired by this episode, they can kind of join you in that journey. Yeah. Yes, I did exactly the same thing. I I've got ADHD. I was like, there's no point in me pretending I'm gonna write like 100 words a day. I've never done anything consistently in my life. Why would this journey be any different? Yes, I'm part of that. I can't wait. Oh, fantastic. Make sure you keep us posted on that, right? So thank you so much. Where can women find you on socials if they want to connect further? Yeah. Oh, girl, we need to talk about YouTube if you're not on there. Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Honestly, this literally fills my cup. I've got a whole day of calls, and I was so excited for this one because I knew it was going to set me up for the day. Like, I get so high vibe. It's almost like giddy by the end of it. So I'm going to need to have like a lie down after this one before my next client session, or they're going to be like, "Is she okay?" But thank you so much for being so generous with your time, for sharing your journey and your wisdom. I think there's so many practical tips in there that the women are really going to get some value from. And then, obviously, ladies, if you want to continue the journey with Gemma, which I would strongly recommend that you do, because I'll also be doing that too, you can go and find her on socials, and I'll make sure all the details are in the show notes. But thank you so much. And I'll see you on the next episode, ladies. Yeah. Yay. So